Friends, welcome. We have some really significant new reports that absolutely demand your attention today. And right at the top, we have to talk about something unfolding in Britain, a stark warning that I believe every household needs to hear. We're getting word that Lord George Robertson, the former NATO Secretary General and former UK Defence Secretary under Tony Blair, has likely been tasked with issuing a pretty sobering alert. Britons need to move away from what's called a peacetime mindset. They need to prepare for a major conflict scenario right down to the household level. I used to work inside a big, well-known media outlet, saw how stories were twisted to fit the narrative, and I walked away. Now, I'm independent, I speak freely, and I tell you what truly matters, the bigger picture behind the headlines. If you find value in this, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and maybe even consider becoming a sponsor. Your support helps keep this independent analysis going, reaching more people who crave the unvarnished truth. So this isn't just a casual suggestion, it's a call to action. Households across the country are being advised to stock up on essentials like candles, flashlights, water, and battery-powered radios. Why? To be ready, to be prepared in the event of war or widespread power outages. Now, this is a very clear and rather negative position being articulated, a classic escalation of rhetoric that just keeps intensifying. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, what exactly they foresee that requires such a shift in thinking? Is this about the wider European tensions or something more specific? The implication is certainly unsettling. Now, moving across Europe, one of the most talked about developments in the European Union right now is the return to power of businessman and former Prime Minister Andrej Babiš in the Czech Republic. In the recent parliamentary elections, Babiš's opposition movement, led by the billionaire himself, secured a victory. The people, by and large, cast their votes for them. Coming in second was the civic conservative bloc of the current Prime Minister, Petr Fiala. Prime Minister Fiala has already congratulated Babiš's movement on their election win, a sign of democratic process, at least on the surface. Babiš's main slogan during the election echoed sentiments we've heard in the United States and many other nations. We must think first and foremost about ourselves, or more precisely, the Czech Republic must think first and foremost about itself. Experts are already weighing in, explaining that despite his victory, Babiš won't be able to govern alone. And Czech President Petr Pavel, a former NATO general, has already issued a warning. He will not appoint ministers who hold anti-NATO views. It's worth noting, Babiš himself doesn't seem to hold such views. He has already declared his support for both NATO and the European Union. The real issue, of course, is that the winner was not the establishment's preferred candidate. However, experts believe that if Babiš manages to form a coalition, the Czech Republic could shift away from Prime Minister Fiala's liberal course and strengthen its ties with eurosceptic leaders in Europe, figures like Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán and Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico. This potential shift has already sparked concern within the leadership of the European community. We'll certainly be watching to see how this plays out. Meanwhile, over in Germany, the latest INSA poll for the Bild newspaper reveals that the ruling coalition comprised of the Christian Democratic Union, often referred to as the CDU-CSU, and the Social Democrats has seen its approval rating plummet to just 38%. This is their lowest showing since coming into power. Just for comparison, a week ago, that figure stood at 40%. At the same time, the right-wing party, Alternative for Germany, or AfD, is holding steady at a significant 26%, solidifying its position as a powerful force in German politics. Political scientists are already quipping that the so-called black-red coalition is slowly turning pale pink. Support is dwindling, and their rivals are breathing down their necks, no doubt about it. Speaking of Germany, Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has urged calm after drones were repeatedly sighted over the country's airports. He acknowledges the uncertainty but emphasized that so far, the observed drones posed no concrete threat. Pistorius specifically underlined this, which was quite surprising, honestly. He chose not to use these drone incidents to further escalate tensions, even though that's often his usual playbook. Instead, he called for composure. Now, these recent drone incidents in Bavaria could very well become the first serious test for the German federal government's new security architecture. According to German media reports, these matters will now be handled by the National Security Council, which is still in the process of being established. Multiple authorities, including special services, the police, and the Bundeswehr, are currently working full steam ahead on a joint situation report. It's worth noting immediately that there have already been arrests across Europe for individuals launching drones over airports. In Frankfurt, Frankfurt am Main on October 3rd, a Croatian amateur pilot was detained for flying a civilian drone over the airport. The day before, in Norway, 3 Germans were taken into custody for similar actions over Rosvoll Airport. A Chinese tourist operating a drone over the airport was also detained and deported from Norway. And we need to add to these German reports an unfortunate update about Munich's Oktoberfest 2025. Due to an incident, the festival won't bring in the expected profits. On October 1st, Oktoberfest was shut down from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. while police thoroughly searched tents and attractions, not for explosives, but investigating a possible threat. I talked about this previously. The cause was a potential threat linked to a fire and a hazardous item found in a residential building in northern Munich on the same day. After the area was cleared, the festival reopened, but it lost almost half a day of operation. Based on estimates, the festival typically generates around 40 million euros per day. This means that due to the half-day shutdown, the city lost approximately up to 21 million euros. That's a significant hit financially. Let me quickly pause here and remind you, if you appreciate this deep dive into global events, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement truly helps this information reach a wider audience. Moving on, we've learned that the flotilla of activists attempting to break the Gaza blockade has now arrived in Istanbul. Not all of them, but over 130 individuals were deported from Israel and landed yesterday at the Turkish airport, where they immediately recounted what they described as unacceptable conditions of detention. Swedish eco-activist Greta Thunberg, for instance, is still being held. She's 22 now, and by her own account, the conditions are like something out of the Middle Ages. She reports having to sit on hard surfaces with minimal food and water. Greta also stated that she developed a rash, which she suspects is caused by bedbugs. So it seems even bedbugs are getting involved in international politics, which is a rather grim, if darkly humorous thought. European media outlets immediately jumped on this wave, as they say, to tear into it. This unusual story is gaining momentum like never before. Questions to Israeli authorities are multiplying, and the activists naturally won't be silent. They'll be sharing their various accounts. But it's not just the activists speaking out. Israeli citizens are also voicing their frustrations. I want you to note, people on social media are outraged that they will ultimately have to pay for 473 plane tickets to get Greta Thunberg and her companions back home. The money for these activist tickets, they say, will come from Israeli taxpayers, and they clearly don't want this development. The outrage began with a post from an Israeli citizen that garnered 10 million views. The person wrote, and I'm paraphrasing the sentiment here, "Why should I, an Israeli taxpayer, have to pay for the flights of these European individuals?" The original statement was more pointed, but you get the idea. Now, Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić has decided to personally join the escalation, declaring that the increase in NATO countries' defense spending signals preparation for a major military conflict. In his view, to use his exact words, everyone is preparing for war. Vučić explained in detail that when you increase GDP by 5% for defense spending, that's an enormous amount of money. He asserts this means everyone is preparing for war. "We would like to avoid war," the Serbian president stated. According to Vučić, Serbia aims to remain on the sidelines of the impending confrontation. And speaking of global intrigues, we now have a massive international mystery involving the American president, Donald Trump, and the Nobel Peace Prize. Reports indicate that aides to the former U.S. president are currently campaigning for him to receive this prestigious award. The Nobel Committee remains tight-lipped for now, but rumors circulating in the media suggest the committee is genuinely concerned about Trump's potential reaction if he doesn't get it. One committee member even reportedly confessed to journalists that he's considering taking a sick day on October 10th, the day the laureate is announced. The committee secretary, in turn, claims there's no direct pressure on them. But simultaneously, both public and private campaigns are underway in support of Donald Trump. So, the suspense is building. Will he get the award or not? The date is fast approaching. What makes this particularly interesting is that Donald Trump, speaking earlier at a military base, declared that he wanted the Nobel Peace Prize not for himself personally, but for the United States. He then added that if someone else receives the award, it would be an insult to America. Those were his words, and as we all know, America, in his view, must never be insulted. Many people still struggle to understand why Barack Obama was previously awarded the Peace Prize, given he received it just a few months after taking office. Obama himself back then showed a certain humility, admitting he was surprised by the award and that there were people who deserved it more than him. Some critics at the time felt the award was given as an advance for future actions, rather than for achieved results, which many argued were not yet there. It seems only now many are realizing that Barack Obama's presidency, in terms of tangible positive results for peace, well, the jury is still out, to put it mildly. These are the fascinating and sometimes perplexing threads of information for today. So, in summary, Britain is being told to prepare for conflict. The Czech Republic has elected a eurosceptic-leaning leader. Germany's ruling coalition is struggling while the AfD gains strength. Drone incidents are testing German security, and a financial hit to Oktoberfest. And the Gaza flotilla activists are in Istanbul with concerns about their treatment, sparking outrage among Israeli taxpayers. And of course, the ongoing saga of Donald Trump and the Nobel Peace Prize. Please share your thoughts on all of this in the comments. What do you think is really going on? And until tomorrow, I wish you peace and only good news. All the best.